Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And boy, do we have a lot to cover this morning. I realized I never fixed my collar, which is not very professional. Okay, that's not better at all. So we've got a lot to cover. We've got a lot of things that we need to catch up on. We're going to start with some breaking news, some updates. Today, of course, is Governor Hochul's State of the State. The New York Post has released what will be a part of that speech. We may not have an opportunity to get to all of it because I know I don't want to blow the surprise. I know many of you are very excited. You've got the popcorn and the soda ready to watch the State of the State right around 1 o'clock today. But we'll tell you a little bit about what is to be expected. That's coming up later on. Let's go to some viewer comments. Thank you for letting our voices be heard. Well, thank you for having your voice heard. Thank you for writing in. I do appreciate that. Also, your tax dollars at work. If you mail anything with a Corning address in the Corning post office, it goes to Rochester to be sorted. No joke. Oh, I know it. I was just joking about this with somebody the other day that sent me, a neighbor that sent me a Christmas card, which already, 78 cents just to mail it? And what a journey that Christmas card went on. I live about walking distance from this person, very much so walking distance from this person, and it went all the way to Rochester, got the Rochester postmark, came back. I said, next time, please, just call me. I'll walk over, and I'll pick it up. You save 78 cents and a lot of man hours. Comment from a different viewer, from Mark. He says, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. Drill, baby, drill. President Trump is telling oil companies to get her done in Venezuela. He sure is. We're going to be talking about Venezuela here in just a little bit. Did you see yesterday Hegseth and Musk have vowed to unleash tech innovations at the Pentagon and make, as they put it, quote, Star Trek real? I'll be the first to admit I'm not the biggest Star Trek person, but I know there are people out there that probably are. This may excite them. Musk saying, as he welcomed Hegseth to Starbase, we want to make Star Trek real. Hegseth then quipped after being introduced, Star Trek real. Okay. The War Secretary's remarks, part of the Arsenal of Freedom tour, emphasized the need for the U.S. to win the strategic competition for 21st century technology supremacy, including by topping America's adversaries in the fields of artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, hypersonics, space capabilities, directed energy, biotechnology, and long-range drones. Until President Trump took office, the Department of War's process for fielding new capabilities had, quote, not kept up with the times, said Hegseth. It's good to see Musk is getting back involved. We know it's being reported that he's going to donate a lot to Republicans for the midterms. Hegseth said, worse than that, we've done nothing but add layer upon layer of bureaucracy. Endless projects with no accountable owners at the Pentagon and high churn with little progress and few outputs. That sounds about like the exact opposite of SpaceX, describing it as a dangerous game with potentially fatal consequences. Pledging to supercharge innovation at the War Department, Hegseth said the Pentagon is done running a peacetime science fair. I love that. While our potential adversaries are running a wartime arms race. What a good way of putting that. Done running a peacetime science fair while our potential adversaries are running a wartime arms race. And boy, if you hear some of what happened, I know it's kind of anonymous sources or being reported on at maybe some weirder outlets, but it was shared by, I think, Carolyn Levitt. When you look at some of the technology that was used when the Trump administration went in to get Maduro, it was remarkable. It sounded like something out of a sci-fi movie, terrifying the soldiers on the ground, meaning the Venezuelan soldiers. Well, really, a lot of their security is Cuban. Hegseth said he vowed to cut through overgrown bureaucratic underbrush and clear away the debris, Elon style, preferably with a chainsaw. Now, as part of the military's focus on harnessing the power of artificial intelligence, Hegseth announced the War Department will start using X's Grok AI platform. I'm not sure if I say that right. In addition to Google's Gemini AI model on every classified and unclassified network in the department. Also, speaking of Hegseth, as an update from a story we had for you not that long ago, Senator Mark Kelly is suing Hegseth over the censor and the potential demotion and I want to say pension cut. Senator Mark Kelly filed a lawsuit Monday seeking to reverse Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's letter of censure, an effort to potentially demote the retired Navy officer, sharply escalating a confrontation between the Arizona Democrat and President Trump's Pentagon chief. And that's all in relation to that video that those Democrats released, basically saying don't follow orders. And if you remember, he was asked directly, did he feel that the Maduro capture was an illegal order that they shouldn't have followed, and he wouldn't respond. So he got himself kind of painted in a corner where he will be asked about this a lot, and rightfully so. In the lawsuit filed in D.C. federal court, Kelly's lawyers argue that the Pentagon's inquiry and formal reprimand unlawfully punished the senator for his speech and violated his due process. It appears that never in our nation's history has the executive branch imposed military sanctions on a member of Congress for engaging in disfavored political speech. Next step in the case, which was assigned to Judge Richard Leon, an appointee of George W. Bush, could come quickly. Now, don't read too much into that. The Bushes weren't always the best at picking judges, Supreme Court justices as well. The Pentagon, not all the time. I'm just saying there were some instances. The Pentagon directed Kelly to respond by January 20th to a query from the Board of Military Officers, whom Hegseth tasked with determining whether the senator will be demoted in retirement. Kelly's attorneys have asked the court for a preliminary injunction that would pause the process while the lawsuits go forward. It's possible the judge will decide that the court does not have jurisdiction in the case and instead direct Kelly to first exhaust his appeals within the military justice system, said Sean Timmons, a former Army attorney and a managing partner at the law firm Tully Rinke. Timmons, who is not directly involved in the case, has followed the matter closely. But there's also a chance, Timmons said, that the unprecedented nature of the case could raise such significant questions about the U.S. government's separation of powers that it will end up at the Supreme Court. I know the Supreme Court has some major decisions coming up about tariffs, about sports, transgenders in sports. So that's just an update. That process has begun. Okay. Oh, we got some waves coming in here. Oh, also, is it too early for our Greenland update? Could be. Oh, there's another wave. Yeah, why not kick off the program with a Greenland update? A House Republican is pushing for Greenland to become the country's 51st state. So get ready to update your American flags. But you can't really complain because it's been a long time since we've had to buy a new flag because of a new state. And I also don't think this is probably going anywhere. But Representative Randy Fine, a Republican from Florida, is introducing a bill aimed at authorizing Trump to, quote, take such steps as may be necessary to acquire Greenland and set it on the pathway of becoming part of the United States. I think it is in the world's interest for the United States to exert sovereignty over Greenland, Fine told Fox News. Congress would still have to choose to make it a state, but this would simply authorize the president to do what he's doing and say that Congress stands behind him. And then it would expedite it into becoming a state. But it still is up to Congress about whether to do that. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said last week that he would be meeting with officials from Denmark this week to discuss Greenland. Trump has publicly pushed for the idea of the U.S. buying the Arctic island territory, and that actually came up in his first term. I had forgot about that, but as we've said so many times on this program, there's so many, for lack of a better word, breaking stories from a Trump administration that some things get lost. So again, Randy Fine, representative from Florida, pushing the GOP to make Greenland America's 51st state. Your thought on that? I'd love to hear your opinion. Now, we're going to talk about Iran. We're going to talk about the protests there, where we see Iran cracking down. We're also going to talk quite a bit here about ICE and in relations to Minnesota, Minneapolis. We also have, like I said, a lot of New York State updates. Will you be watching Governor Hochul's State of the State today? Now, if not, or even if so, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be joining us on Fridays with Phil, because he'll be in attendance, of course, as an assemblyman, and we'll get his take on it. I see Governor Hochul is backtracking on some environmental things that were going to be very costly because it is still an election year. Now, I think she's probably more scared of the primary, whether or not a Democrat Socialist of America jumps in, or whether Democrat Socialist of America supporters go with her lieutenant governor in that primary. So I think you will see a push towards the left, but there's other instances where she has to think about affordability. Now, don't think for a moment if she wins re-election, these will all be reversed. It's just like when she said no congestion tax, no congestion pricing. Don't worry. And then, of course, she was reelected. And the next, she wasn't reelected, excuse me. It was Democrats and Republicans. It was the House and the presidential. Then she goes, okay, never mind. We're going back to congestion pricing. Excuse me. Don't like to cough right into the mic. Apologize for that. All right, let's take a short, before we talk about that, because we talked about Musk, and I know I'm going to run a little late this morning, but we talked about Musk, we talked about Hegseth. Listen to this. Now, Scott Bessent, it's being reported, does not like the whole Jerome Powell investigation. We may get to that later on. But Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent revealed yesterday that when it comes to waste, fraud, and abuse each year, we could be talking about 10% of the total federal budget each year taken by evildoers, wrongdoers. He cited data from the Government Accountability Office. If we could narrow that number, President Trump asked for a $500 billion increase in the defense budget to fortify the 10 to 20 years of neglect. If we need to flex up our military budget, if we can get rid of this waste, fraud, and abuse, we can finance a safer, sounder U.S. with that without taking on more debt. Sounds like a pretty good outcome to me. 10% of the federal budget taken from waste, fraud, and abuse, and I'm guessing that's probably a pretty conservative number. The GAO analysts found that between $233 billion and $521 billion, which, what's a few billion amongst friends, was lost annually due to fraud during fiscal year 2018 through 2022. And that's why so many people are outraged, not the media, but why so many people on the ground are outraged what's happening in Minnesota. And we heard about it yesterday or the day before or last week in New York. And that's why the media doesn't cover it. They don't care about the waste, fraud, and abuse. They like big government. They like these bureaucratic programs. So they have no problem with it. And then when we had the most minuscule amount of reporting on it, they decided to move away from that topic and go on to the ICE shooting. And now they're being, Walls and Ilhan Omar are being interviewed without any questions about the fraud. It was the exact excuse that the media was looking for, because if you recall, they never reported on it in the first place. That is amazing to me. 10%. Up to, and again, I believe it's probably a conservative number, 10% of our annual budget going to waste, fraud, and corruption. Last week, Vice President J.D. Vance announced that the Justice Department is establishing a new Assistant Attorney General to spearhead a fraud probe in Minnesota and other states across the country. It's going to be a nationwide effort because, unfortunately, the American people have been defrauded in a very nationwide way, said Vance. Beyond fraudulent government spending, the Internal Revenue Service estimates that it has failed to collect hundreds of billions of dollars worth of taxes that they are owed. The IRS most recently projected that the so-called tax gap was about $606 billion as of fiscal year 2022. All right, that's the beginning of our program. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
At Quickfill, what matters most is that our customers, our communities, and our heroes are taken care of. We start by providing American-made gasoline, which means you can buy local, keeping America and your communities strong. We also support vital charities every year and hold Operation Give Thanks each November to help provide a better future for our veterans and their families. We're proud to support the communities we live and work in, and we're doing our best every day to make our towns a better place. Quickfill, driving America.
From Excel member service to easy, reliable, and secure digital banking and a deep commitment to the communities we call home, First Heritage is proud to be part of our members' everyday lives. That's why we're honored to be named Best Credit Union in the Twin Tiers 5 years in a row and Best Locally Owned Business in 2025. To our members, thank you for your trust, your loyalty, and your votes. And if you're not yet a member, visit fhfcu.org or stop by your local branch and see for yourself what makes First Heritage the best.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride, but there's also a significant amount of pressure.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
Watching the sun come up, that's my time. I can have a cup of coffee, and every day is a new opportunity.
That's cool. Your hand's gotten so Yay!
Don't forget to check in on yourself. Love your mind.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Just admiring that beautiful view. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I'm going to be mentioning this throughout the program, but if we could get a little help, if anybody has any ideas on this. Recently, a dog was adopted named Ghost from the Southern Tier Animal Control Group. The family got him on Saturday, and by Sunday, he bolted out the door when he saw a deer. He has been seen around Corning High School, but most recently around 2nd, 3rd, 4th Avenue, and Higman Hill Road. And the sad thing is, and let me put him up on the screen. There he is. There's Ghost. Pretty looking dog. He had been in a shelter, get this, 699 days, over half of his life in a shelter, finally finds a home, and now they have no idea where he is. So if anybody has seen Ghost in around the Corning area, you see the number on the bottom of the screen, the number that you normally contact to be a part of this program. Contact me and we'll get you in touch with the right person. If you've been around Corning, or maybe you saw a ghost and got him somewhere safe, we would appreciate your help. Again, sad scenario. So hopefully, and if I hear anything, hopefully he will be found and returned back to his home. Okay, we are back. Let's go to some viewer comments. Jack says, one phrase you will not hear from the left is waste, fraud, and abuse. They believe it's part of doing normal business, and nothing government spends is wasted. Yeah, and keep in mind, it's not their money, right? It's a lot easier to spend other people's money and waste other people's money. So they don't care that you work hard for your money, and that is being wasted by shady actors, because at the end of the day, the overall goal is to spend more anyway. Comment from a viewer: I will not be watching Hochul. I just cannot listen to any more lies and deceit. But more generally, I just can't understand the Democrat mindset. Thank you very much. We are going to talk a little bit about what she's going to say coming from the New York Post, but not too much in depth, just to see what we prepare for. To be prepared for, excuse me. Now, in Iran is reportedly set to execute its first protester in connection with mass arrests over the widespread anti-regime demonstrations. Now, this is an actual execution. We know that a lot of people have lost their lives because of these protests. Efren Soltani, who's 26 years old, is scheduled to be hanged to death tomorrow, Wednesday, after he was arrested last week during the protest in Karaj. His family was told that he has been sentenced to death and that the sentence is due to be carried out on the 14th of January. In a statement, the human rights group, I don't know what it stands for, said in a statement that widespread killing of civilian protesters in recent days by the Islamic Republic is reminiscent of the regime's crimes in the 1980s, which have been recognized as crimes against humanity. The risk of mass and extrajudicial executions of protesters is extremely serious. Under the responsibility to protect, the international community has a duty to protect civilian protesters against mass killings by the Islamic Republic and its Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. We call on the people and civil society in democratic countries to remind the government their responsibility. More than 10,000 people have been reportedly arrested in recent weeks because of these protests. We've heard varying numbers on the death count, but most people seem to report right around 500 or more deaths. We know that last week President Trump had warned Iran against that violence when it comes to protests. And he said it would be met with U.S. military response, that they better not start shooting because we'll start shooting too. Iran is looking at freedom perhaps like never before. The USA stands ready to help. Iranian Americans are calling the regime's deadly crackdown heartbreaking as they await possible U.S. intervention. The death toll, as we mentioned, right around 500 people. A 61-year-old Great Neck man whose wife remains in Iran said, Iranian government, you can't trust them. They're full of lies, corrupted. They smuggle drugs, guns. They sell body parts. We don't say anything because we are afraid. New York City-based lawyer Maram Jaid Perez said the spike in deadly violence against Iranians fighting for a better life is heartbreaking. They don't want this part of the world to see what is going on, so that's why they blacked out the internet in Iran, and that's why Musk has vowed to bring it back. James Irani said things are getting worse because the Iranian government is willing to give an inch, but he hopes Trump ratchets up pressure that could further isolate the nation. I think that could be the only break to stop the brutality against these innocent people. But giving support or morale support to the people, that would be a tremendous help. Now, Trump yesterday did order Iran's trade embargo with 25% tariffs on any country that violates it. Effective, this is on Truth Social by the president, effective immediately, any country doing business with the Islamic Republic of Iran will pay a tariff of 25% on any and all business being done with the United States of America. This order is final and conclusive. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And when he says thank you to your attention to this matter, you know it means business. The trade action comes at a critical decision-making point for Trump as he weighs military force and diplomacy. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and key National Security Council officials huddled on Friday to prepare a suite of options, including military strikes, and to present those to President Trump in the coming days. One thing President Trump is very good at is always keeping all of his options on the table, and airstrikes would be one of the many, many options on the table for the commander-in-chief, said Carolyn Levitt. So we now know, with that embargo, anyone who violates the embargo with Iran, looking at 25% tariffs if they want to do business with the United States. Now, Trump was asked by, of course it's a CNN reporter. How am I doing? Oh, I'm running late. We'll talk more about Iran. I don't want to rush this because I have a couple really interesting things about Iran. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
New York State nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, the Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lee Com Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
Month after month, year after year, even decades you've paid into the insurance system. You've done your part, but when you're seriously injured in a car accident or another tragedy, that system turns its back. Insurance companies care more about pumping up profits and stock prices than paying for your medical bills, your lost wages, or your recovery. At WYDC Injury Law, we fight to make them pay what's fair. If you've been hurt in New York or Pennsylvania, call 607-500-HURT. Don't let the insurance companies win.
No, no, no. Turn it down. Turn it off. Get a hand. Lose the bells and whistles. Drive without distraction.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, talking about Iran here for a moment. CNN, a reporter for CNN, asked Trump if he believes Iran takes his threats seriously. It was a reporter. They were on Air Force One. Trump said, "I think so. Don't you think so?" Before highlighting his administration's killing of General Soleimani, terrorist leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, in his first administration, and the B-2 bomber strikes on Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan in the 2025 military operation Midnight Hammer. Wouldn't you say that they probably do at this point, after going through it for years with me? Being hit, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, the Iran nuclear threat wiped out, and then you just had Venezuela? Wouldn't you say they do? After all the things we've done. What a stupid question. Trump blasted the CNN reporter earlier in the flight as well when she tried to avoid answering what outlet she represented. Oh, that's not a good sign. When you know your outlet's so bad, you're trying to hide it because you want to try to trap Trump in something. Earlier in the gaggle, one reporter asked Trump if Iran had crossed the red line yet to trigger a response, to which he said they're starting to, it looks like it. There seem to be some people killed that aren't supposed to be killed. The military is looking at it, and we're looking at very strong options. The CNN reporter asked Trump for the options he had been briefed on, and he said, "Why would I tell you that? Are you asking me to say what will I do? Where will we attack? When and what angle we will attack from? Who are you with? Why don't you just say, I'm with CNN?" Adding that CNN is fake news. Hugh Hewitt, in full disclosure, I'm not the biggest fan of Hugh Hewitt. I had the opportunity to interview him a couple times. Nice guy. Just don't always see eye to eye politically. But he has a piece this morning. Trump is on the cusp of greatness. Khomeini is on the edge of the abyss. The difference between the illusion of power and its reality is the difference between Ayatollah Khomeini and President Donald Trump. Trump is on the cusp of joining the very small number of American presidents who reorder the world. Khomeini is on the cusp of history's abyss reserved for murderous fanatics. If Trump tips Khomeini over that edge, the president's place in history will be secure. He will have returned freedom to the great Persian people. In the present convulsion of Iran, President Trump has been a vocal supporter of the Iranian people seeking freedom. Just as he did with Maduro, President Trump has issued many warnings to Khomeini. Just as Maduro ignored them, so too has Khomeini responded with mockery of the President of the United States. The Ayatollah has also cut off the nation's internet and cellular services and ordered his thugs to open fire. Will it work again? Nobody knows. All we know is that a repressed people cannot forever be held down, and that the president who helped free them earned history's applause and respect. Liz Peek saying similar. As Iran teeters on the brink of revolution, the possible dethroning of the globe's most malignant sponsor of terror would be another massive shakeup to the world order, one that would benefit the United States and her allies, and for which President Trump can take much credit. Trump has threatened to retaliate if the mullahs shoot protesters, and over the weekend said that the United States stands ready to help. Now, it goes through some of the history and the timeline on this, of the history of kind of revolution in Iran. But in the coming days, Liz Peek says, in the coming days, the fate of the Iranian government will become clear. If the mullahs decamp and a pro-Western administration emerges, the entire world, and especially Western nations, Israel and the Gulf Arab states, will be better off. From the first year in office, President Trump helped facilitate this chain of events. initially by leveling severe sanctions on Tehran's oil industry that caused its exports and revenues to shrink. During Trump's first term, Iran's foreign currency reserves plummeted from a high of $122 billion to just $18 billion. Joe Biden took his foot off the brake, allowing Tehran to rebuild its oil exports for less than 500,000 barrels per day to more than 1.5 million per day, and its reserves. Biden also approved the transfer of $6 billion to Tehran in exchange for a prisoner swap, giving the mullahs even more money to fund their terror allies. Joe Biden's coddling of Iran was one of the worst foreign policy disasters of the past 4 years, confirming former Secretary of Defense Bob Gates' pronouncement that Biden has been wrong on every foreign policy and national security issue of the past 40 years. And that's a very infamous, if you will, very famous quote, but it could not be more accurate. Look at the withdrawal from Afghanistan. Look at Iran. The list can go on and on. Thankfully, Trump is clear-eyed about America's interest in the Middle East. In 2023, Biden famously said in a rare Oval Office address, "American leadership is what holds the world together." Yes, it does. And under President Trump, we have seen an extraordinary wielding of U.S. power in defense of our allies, while always, without exception, putting America first. So that was Liz Peek, and I thought that was a great way of bringing that up. Wait till I tell you about, is that coming up next? We got a couple things here about these protests. And I have your weekly update, and I know it could be more than once, but that MAGA's falling apart, and that now he doesn't like Pam Bondi. But since we're talking about Iran, I have to mention this, and it's a piece by Joanna Williams. And I'm not sure the outlet. I should have written it down. Spiked columnist. Anyway. The courage of Iran's women puts woke Westerners to shame. These kind of pro-Palestine, anti-Israel protests, and I don't know how you pronounce that, but the scarf idea. Clad class is utterly indifferent to this genuine struggle for liberty against Islamic expression. And they go through some of the people and one-on-one interviews with some of the people that have had to deal with this and the strong women who have been protesting in Iran. You can find this for yourself at the New York Post. It was linked there, but let's leave the faux feminists to their hypocrisy, the ones that we see at so many of these No Kings rallies, the rallies when Trump first won president. Iranian women do not need Western saviors. To date, the iconic image to emerge from the Iranian protest is of a beautiful young woman, hair loose about her shoulders, lighting a cigarette from a burning, I love this picture, a burning image of the Ayatollah. That is freedom. These women are braver and more principled than any of the protests you're seeing in the street, the kind of woke protest. But if you have not seen that photo, I should have had it up for you. It's a iconic. Now, keep in mind, I'm sure it will never be given any kind of prize. That's not the, these various outlets that do the iconic photos of the year normally has some type of political nature to it. So don't expect that photo to be iconic, but it is iconic. Just like they didn't give the actual photo of Trump with the fight photo after his assassination attempt. They didn't give that the award either. Now, according to Seth Mandel, the rank hypocrisy on display from the anti-Israel fanatics, pardon me, who are ignoring the plight of Iranian protesters has an easy explanation. It's not really hypocrisy at all. Pro-Hamas and pro-Hezbollah agitators are objectively on the same side of the mullahs and thugs who are murdering peaceful Iranian protesters at will. Keep that in mind when you saw so many protests even locally. These anti-Israel protesters, pro-Hamas protesters, according to this, and I believe it to be true, pro-Hamas and pro-Hezbollah agitators are on the same side. Ian Bremmer spoke for many yesterday when he said the American college activists would gain a little credibility if they were demonstrating against a brutal repression in Iran. Yet it would, frankly, be shocking if they did. The brave men and women of Iran have been out in the streets making declarations such as, "Neither Gaza nor Lebanon, I sacrifice my life for Iran." This slogan, which is not new among Iranian anti-regime protesters, is a statement of opposition to the funding and support of Hezbollah and Hamas, which are the regime's own proxies. And what did the Campus Gaza protests look like? There are a couple of common sights: Hezbollah flags, shirts with Hamas's official faces on them. The campus protesters are aligned with the murderous regime. Why would they advocate for the innocent Iranians who just want freedom? They are in the vanguard of the propaganda apparatus of the Islamic Republic's goons, the very ones who have been painting the streets with blood of innocent Iranians. It's like asking, why aren't the mullahs doing more to oppose the mullahs? There is another dimension to the dishonesty and moral repugnance of Western academia's Gaza industry. Iran is the preeminent colonialist imperial power of the modern Middle East. So where are all the decolonization specialists? The answer is they don't exist. Decolonization theory is an academic hallucination. There is no such animal. It's a fake discipline. Now that sounds harsh. After all, the anti-colonial ideology is all over America's elite colleges and universities. These institutions have spent millions to employ professors and build academic architecture around them. And think of the students. If you pay full tuition and dormitory costs to an Ivy League school, you may very well spend nearly $100,000 a year. Decolonization's theories, secondhand smoke, has always insinuated itself into broader disciplines like history and political science and the like, which means a fair number of students have paid in full for a false education. The years lost, the futures squandered, the money wasted. It's hard to fully comprehend the scale of this con. I believe we have a responsibility to be unkind to the people who are on the wrong side of this one. Regarding Israel, the Iranian protesters are far from a monolith. Many are supportive of the Jewish state, many oppose it. Still others are somewhere in the middle. But we know for a fact that the actual forces arrayed against the Jewish state are the very same forces arrayed against the Iranian people. Over the past few days, there have been a slight shift in tone from many Democrats. They have found the words to unequivocally condemn Hamas and its open supporters. For example, the reason for this shift is clear. They understand that they cannot credibly condemn the Iranian regime's identical behavior in one place and support it in another. They will almost certainly continue to gleefully spread the Iranian war propaganda about Israel, so the rhetorical shift is modest in scope. Nonetheless, it seems to be an implicit nod to the fact that America's enemies and Israel's enemies are the enemies of the Iranian people yearning to be free. There are many names in this conflict, but there are only two sides. And we actually have something on this about AOC. So stay with us. We got to take a break. I know I'm running late. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Dear all-wheel drive, let's show the road what we've got. Snowy streets, we're coming for you. Icy grip, we're holding tight. Wintry mix, Safety's the name of our game. Toyota all-wheel drive sedans. Right now, lease the all-hybrid 2026 Camry with all-wheel drive for just $269 a month. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Did you know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality? And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
What level life jacket should you wear when you're far from shore?
Level 100.
Bingo. Now, what's the most comfortable type of life jacket to wear if you're just chilling close to the shore?
Level 70.
Great. Last question. Before leaving the shore, make sure your boat has enough life jackets for
everyone.
You're the best.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads, contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. A couple comments from viewers. Maybe we should make Israel and Ukraine states and put an end to all this nonsense. Thank you very much. Coming from a different viewer. As far as Greenland goes, be prepared to hear all of the negative comments and harsh words from the Democrats, because anything Trump says is heck no. I'm fine with Greenland being under U.S. control, but not necessarily a state, especially if the price is right, considering its strategic value. Thank you very much. We were talking about protests. The Post editorial board says Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez finally issued a full-throated condemnation of pro-Hamas goons, but she owes voters an explanation for her history of standing up for anti-Semites. On Friday, AOC slammed the roughly 200-strong mob of anti-Israel demonstrators who chanted, "Say it loud, say it clear, we support Hamas here." That was just outside Young Israel of Kew Gardens Hill in Queens. In her usual internet snark tone, she posted, Hey, so much marching into a predominantly Jewish neighborhood and leading with a chant saying, "We support Hamas," is a disgusting and anti-Semitic thing to do. Pretty basic. Yeah, I would agree with the post here. That's your full-throated condemnation. It's kind of childish in how she worded it. This was one of the many condemnations from various Democrats. Seems they all got the same set of talking points in their inboxes. Governor Hochul and Senator Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand all began their post with, "Hamas is a terrorist organization." Cookie cutter, sure, but at least Schumer, Gillibrand, and Hochul have been fairly consistent in slamming explicitly pro-Hamas rhetoric since the October 7, 2023 terror attack on Israel. AOC, on the other hand, is pulling a complete 180. Is she expecting everyone to just forget her record of defending this kind of garbage? The protesters' chant was a brazen show of support for the terror group responsible for the slaughter of October 7th. It was vile, it was anti-Semitic, and it was a pretty run-of-the-mill pro-Palestinian demonstration. That is, the hate was in line with the bile offered at countless anti-Israel marches, rallies, and sit-ins, including at the Columbia University encampment, which AOC proudly championed at the time. She praised the peaceful protests that were forcing Jewish students to flee campus and slammed the university for calling in the NYPD to clear out demonstrators after they ignored multiple deadlines to disperse. In April 2024, she visited the campus in support, telling protesters, "The leadership you have is so fantastic." Days before, rioters broke into Hamilton Hall and draped the Intifada banner down the side of the building. Columbia protesters chanted, "Globalize the Intifada" and "Death to the Zionist State," slogans with the same purpose and meaning as chanting "We support Hamas" outside of a Jewish house of worship. Where was AOC's fury and anger then? It's nice that she finally has woken up to the fact this messaging is disgusting and anti-Semitic. But she has some explaining to do, like why she thought terror-boosting rhetoric was acceptable up until about 5 minutes ago. Until she does, her call-out rings hollow and hypocritical. Now, speaking of anti-Semitic attacks, federal officers yesterday charged a man with setting fire to the only synagogue in Jackson, Mississippi, claiming that the suspect did so because of the building's, quote, Jewish ties. According to the FBI affidavit, the building sustained extensive damage, rendering it inoperable for an indefinite period of time. The suspect, identified by the FBI as Stephen Spencer Pittman, allegedly laughed about the attack, telling his father he finally got them. Pittman is charged with arson of property used in interstate commerce or used in an actively affecting interstate commerce. The fire occurred around 3 a.m. on Saturday at the historic Beth Israel Congregation Temple in Jackson, the same synagogue that was bombed in 1967 by the Ku Klux Klan. The FBI said the building also houses the Gold Ring Woldberg Institute of Southern Jewish Life. So that's an update from a story I don't think I got to mention yesterday. Okay, so there's a lot of media attention on MAGA being over. We know that the media it's died down in the last couple of days, but that the media is focused on Trump's health somehow. We know that there's always this kind of insider anonymous sources. We've been talking about it kind of extensively. I've got a couple of updates on that. Then we're going to get, no. I jumped ahead. I had something else I wanted to say about Iran. And that ties in with the Democrat Party in general. So that, Well, no. In the next segment, what I'll do, because we actually have 2 segments left, what we'll do in this hour. Well, we got a lot to cover. I don't have to give you the whole rundown. Trust me, you don't want to go anywhere. We've got a lot that you're going to want to hear to prepare yourself for the day. But let's take a short break. When we return, a couple of big stories out there. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of our lives. From a sense of community and safety, to physical and mental health, to economic security and independence. Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. The Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio again. Just a reminder, if you have seen Ghost, he was just recently adopted by a family on Saturday, and already on Sunday he bolted out the door when he saw a deer. He has been spotted around Corning High School, but most recently around 2nd, 3rd, 4th Ave and Higman Hill Road. If you see Ghost, please contact the number on the bottom of the screen, 607-358-3131, and we will let you know who you need to get in contact with, or we'll let those people get in contact with you as well. Okay, let's get back. As I said, Trump has complained about Pam Bondi repeatedly to aides, according to the Wall Street Journal. The criticism appears, and it's always from anonymous sources, take it with a grain of salt. They have not liked Pam Bondi from day one. The criticism appears to be part of an intense campaign by Trump to pressure the Justice Department to be more aggressive in pursuing his priorities. Some of the officials said Trump has previously criticized Bondi at times, but his vocal concerns about his attorney general have grown more frequent in recent months. Said again, people familiar with the administration. This month, Trump has talked with allies about how he could appoint special counsels at the Justice Department because he is so frustrated with what he sees as the slow progress of its work. Chief among his grievances is what he sees as Bondi's failure to quickly and effectively prosecute the investigators who have pursued him for years, including James Comey, Letitia James. So this is kind of an old story in a way, because that's what they always point to, that he's upset that Comey didn't get it, that Letitia James didn't get it. But is this new? What is Josh Dawsey, Sadie Gurman, and C. Ryan Barber at the Wall Street Journal? What have they found that's new? A Justice Department investigation into another of Trump's antagonists, Jerome Powell, became public Sunday. Powell, whom Trump has publicly berated and pressured to lower interest rates, disclosed that the Justice Department was pursuing a criminal investigation over his testimony last summer about the central bank's building renovation project. Trump has also complained frequently that Bondi's handling of the Federal Bureau of Investigation files on Epstein has created months of political and personal headaches for him. Officials familiar with the complaint had said that when White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles told Vanity Fair that Bondi whiffed on her handling of the files, Trump told staff that he agreed with Wiles. He has also heard from conservative activists and influencers criticizing Bondi and collected similar social media posts that he has asked other aides about. And Trump has expressed frustration that the Justice Department hasn't done more to pursue what he claims is the stolen 2020 election. This does not seem like news to me. It seems like it's an exclusive. Seems like some old information there, nothing really breaking. But this ties in with Trump's shrinking coalition. We have the same stories every week. So this week it's Pam Bondi. Last week it was Pete Hegseth. Now it's all of Trump's coalition shrinking. The president can no longer present himself as anti-system because he has become the system. Okay. But it turns out that President Trump's foreign policy doctrine is not actually isolationist, although he doesn't care about defending allies or toppling dictatorships to spread democracy. He's perfectly happy to intervene overseas to steal resources or simply to show other countries who's boss. So that is his. It's not about America first. It's not about keeping our allies safe. Of course, there's got to be some nefarious reason for all of it. I'm not going to go through all this, but basically what it boils down to is the story we've had over and over again. Of course, they put people in there like this Nick Fuentes, which I just do not get. It's just these people that they want to label as the MAGA voices or the conservative voices, which just is clearly not the case. Trump relishes this power and glories in making it visible as possible. He has duly torn down a section of the White House, staged an army parade on his birthday, put his name on the Kennedy Center, and so on. It is as if he wakes up every morning with a new plan for getting across the idea, I'm in charge now. Trump seems to assume the voters share his own worship of power. His most intense fans may revel in his display of dominance. But his least attached supporters, the ones who turned him from a loser in 2020 to a winner in 2024, are recoiling. Yes, everybody has turned on MAGA. We've only been hearing that now for almost an exact year. On the 20th, it'll be the one-year anniversary of when Trump was sworn in. All right, we got to take a short break. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
It's the home of Tivity. Release your inner audio engineer. Create with the 3D printer. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to your local library today.
You can just keep watching and scrolling, and the world will still feel like it's falling apart.
Widespread missile attacks. Highest hospitalization. Evacuation in the West. Forced labor.
Or you can take action by joining a movement that's creating real and lasting change instead. Partnering with communities around the globe to help uproot poverty and plant seeds of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Because at World Vision, we believe that no situation is hopeless. Join a movement that's changing the world for good.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street Corner. We've got a couple things about the Iran protests that I want to get to a little bit later on. We are going to talk about Minnesota, some New York State updates as well. It is being reported that Scott Bessent is not happy with the investigation of Jerome Powell. We can talk about that as well. We've covered a little bit of everything this morning, and I'm glad that you are a part of it. Also, as a reminder, we got this last week as I kind of wrap up the first hour here. The town of Corning is holding a special meeting today at 6 p.m. for the town board. The town board for the town of Corning will meet on Tuesday, January 13th at 6 p.m. to review audit findings and decide the next steps. The meeting will be held at the Corning Town Hall, which is 25 South Elm Street in Corning. The public is invited to attend. Okay. I wanted to mention that because I realized today's the 13th. Also, as we said, Governor Hochul is giving her State of the State today, right around 1 o'clock. The New York Post put together some of their thoughts on what it is going to entail. We may get into that. Bruce Blakeman was giving a speech yesterday, kind of starting his second term as Nassau County Executive. Yes, he did just win re-election to executive, and then instantly told the voters, never mind, I want to be governor. I'm not sure how that'll play out. There's numerous pieces saying he hasn't been able to kind of get Republicans to coalesce around him. I think there's a lot of people, I was talking about this, it was my opinion, but talking about it with Hornell Mayor John Buckley on his show, The Pulse, which you can listen to on WLEA on Saturday and Sunday at 1 o'clock. And the idea came up, will Republicans, especially the on-the-ground Republicans, I'm not talking about the person that's registered Republican and may go in and vote, I'm talking about the people that really make successful campaigns, the ones that are knocking on doors, making phone calls, donating, going to fundraisers, putting signs in the yard. Will those people have an excitement for Mr. Blakeman? My theory is no. I think there was huge excitement, and that's an understatement, for Elise Stefanik. So many people saying before she dropped out they couldn't wait to donate, even saying they were going to take Hochul's check, give it to her. There was people already asking when she declared, where can I get a sign? Obviously, we've not seen that from Blakeman, so I think there is a lot of resentment over his decision to stay in, a lot of anger, because I truly believe Stefanik was our best chance to have a Republican governor in generations. So to have that kind of just thrown aside because of someone that want to be the fly in the ointment, or someone that has an ego because of Nassau County, thinks that that's where the sun rises and sets on Nassau County. I'm not sure. I don't like to do this kind of bashing and bad-mouthing, but it's frustrating when we see what is potentially in Governor Hochul's State of the State, and knowing it's going to get more radical in the next 4 years if Blakeman, most likely he will, loses to Hochul. So we'll have 4 more years of an extreme agenda, and one that's being more catered by the Democrat Socialists of America because of her fear of losing that support. So we can talk a little bit about that. When we come back, we're going to talk, here's a name you haven't heard in a while, Ken Martin. And you're saying, how do I know Ken Martin? Most people don't. He's the chair of the Democratic National Committee. He was the one that was whining that he wasn't getting enough attention. He was actually on a phone call that was leaked where I think you could make the argument that he literally was crying, that David Hogg was getting more attention than him. Of course, they ended up booting David Hogg out of a leadership position because of it. Well, he's trying to get his footing, and it's been bad. I mean, even when Mom Donnie first came on the scene and there's questions about this kind of streak of anti-Semitism in the Democrat Party, he essentially said, oh, that's okay. We welcome everybody. Anti-Semites, anybody is welcome into the big tent of the Democrat Party. I've got one quick update on him that I think I'll probably start the next hour with. Feel free to weigh in on any of the topics of the day because we still have a lot to cover, and we have only 1 hour left to get there. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
In the heart of nature, collisions happen when you least expect them. Deer hits can turn a tranquil drive into a chaotic moment. When the unexpected happens, turn to Scott's Collision. At Scott's Collision, we understand the frustration of unexpected encounters with wildlife. From dents to more extensive damage, we've got you covered. When nature and your vehicle collide, trust Scott's Collision to bring it back to life.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
It's a new day. A day to do the work for those who need us most. At Feed the Children, we provide hungry kids with the food and essentials they need to grow and thrive. In the U.S. and around the world, you can join us and nourish empty stomachs to build brighter futures. Today is a new day, And together, we can create a world where no child goes to bed hungry.
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. We still have a lot to cover. Will you be watching Governor Hochul's State of the State address? We're going to get to that in just a moment. But even if you watch it or you don't watch it, it does not matter, because we'll have Assemblyman Phil Palmisano in on the program Friday to recap for us. On Thursday, excited about this, fresh off her re-election to Steuben County Chair, Kelly Fitzpatrick's going to be joining us on Thursday. Okay. I mentioned Democrat National Committee Chairman Ken Martin, who's really struggled to get his footing. The only attention it seems that he gets is bad attention. Listen to what he said to show you the kind of the radical nature of the Democrat Party as we know it. He likened the mass protests in Iran to demonstrations in the U.S. over the fatal shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent, accusing both governments of terrorizing communities. He said that both parties, meaning Iran and America, are killing protesters, and declared that Minneapolis won't be silent. And we may talk more about Minneapolis here in a moment. From Tehran to my birthplace of Minneapolis, people are rising up against systems that wield violence without accountability. First of all, that's kind of typical Ken Martin, where my birthplace, who cares, Ken? I don't think anybody cares where you were born, no offense. The other thing, think of the pictures we've seen in Iran, where we're hearing numbers up to 500 people thus far killed because of these protests, 10,000 or thousands, I shouldn't put a number on it like that, thousands being locked in prison for their protests. And Ken Martin equates the ICE shooting of Renee Good, who we've learned more about what happened that day through the videos, and there was even Stephen A. Smith saying something to the point that she was breaking the law, she was putting those officers in harm's way. But put that aside, we don't even have to have that argument. That instance is the same as the thousands of people dead or in prison in Iran. Can you see what happens when someone is taken over by that Trump derangement syndrome? And I hate using that term. I think it's overused, but there's no other way to describe that. When you can actually compare what's happening in Iran to what happened in Minnesota. Minnesota, the home, the birthplace of Ken Martin. I hope there's a sign welcoming everybody into the community. In Iran, brave protesters confront a far-right theocratic regime that crushes dissent and denies basic freedoms. Here at home, tens of thousands are marching after the fatal ICE shooting of Renee Good, demanding justice, transparency, and an end to an unchecked federal force. So according to the numbers from the New York Post, at least 544 people have been killed and more than 10,681 arrested by the Islamic Republic since demonstrations began on December 28th. He went on to say, if comparing the U.S. to Iran makes you angry, ask why. Killing protesters, crushing dissent, kidnapping and disappearing legal citizens, ignoring courts, threatening critics, terrorizing communities, that's authoritarian behavior anywhere. If you're rushing to defend it, maybe this, that's what I hate about X. Show more, I don't get the whole thing. But explain to me where Trump is killing protesters, crushing dissent, kidnapping and disappearing legal citizens, ignoring courts. Now, independent outlet Iran International has estimated that as many as 2,000 protesters have been killed. And again, Ken Martin, the head of look at all these waves coming. The head of the Democrat Party feels the need to compare, again, it's that hatred of Trump. It's a hatred of really the country. It's not just Trump. It's that anger with the greatest country ever formed, America. Okay, this is what he said. So it got cut off. That's authoritarian behavior anywhere. If you're rushing to defend it, maybe the problem isn't the comparison. President Trump keeps pushing it. Americans aren't buying it, and Minneapolis won't be silent. Again, Minneapolis, the birthplace of Mr. Ken Martin. Now, one critic accused Martin of encouraging violence, where Martin, again, the head of the DNC, said, hey, MAGA ghoul, no one is encouraging violence. We're encouraging the rule of law. If that scares you, maybe stop defending people who break it like your failing president and his Barbie Homeland Security Director. See you at the ballot box in 2026. I will say, I obviously don't like Ken Martin, excuse me. I will say he fits the Democrat mold. To use that kind of rhetoric to compare Iran to America, to then say ghoul and call Kristi Noem Homeland Barbie. It's that pettiness, it's that arrogance that people hated during the last election with Kamala Harris. But apparently they feel it's still winning strategy, which comes as no surprise because remember, they paid that money to kind of have a regrouping and see what happened. He doesn't like to call it autopsy, but an autopsy of what happened in 2020, and they refused, or not 2020, excuse me, 2025, 2024, excuse me, what am I doing? Moving. Time's moving quickly. But they refused to release it. They said it would be a distraction from the huge successes they're going to have. So now, Isaac Shore says, after a bumpy start, Democrat National Committee Chairman Ken Martin appears to have at last settled into his position by putting his finger on the pulse of his party's anti-American anger. Soon after taking the reins in February, Martin's DNC was in chaos. The New York Times reported plagued by infighting and a drop in big donations. Then there was last month's blow-up over Martin's murder of a 2024 autopsy, detailing how the Democrats had managed to forfeit a second national election to President Trump, this time by an even wider margin, much wider margin. Yet despite his demonstrated incompetence, Martin now stands a chance of holding on his job thanks to his ideological alignment with the party's overtly unpatriotic elites. On Sunday, he weighed in on the historic uprising in Iran, where brave civilians are revolting against a barbaric theocracy that had its boots on their neck and for the better part of a half century, by drawing a tenuous comparison between his own country and his home state and city, and Ayatollah al-Khamenei's, then condescending to critics of his foolishness. So tell us how you feel, Mr. Chairman. Does the tragic death of Renee Good during a hotly disputed incident during which she drove a large SUV toward a law enforcement officer really compare to the Iranian regime's mass murder of innocent protesters? And has President Trump taken an action within 1,000 leagues of the mullah-imposed internet and communications blackout meant to isolate the people of the proud civilization they're subjugating? For most anyone whose brain hasn't rotten beyond repair, these questions answer themselves. No, of course not. But Democrats, against all available evidence and good reason, insist that the parallels between Trump and Khamenei are uncanny, because their entire worldview is predicated on the idea that America is exceptional for its flaws rather than its virtues. Consider, for example, the comments of Senator Mark Warner, who this weekend identified the 1953 ouster of Iranian Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh as the reason why the United States should not support the righteous protesters and strikes on Iranian military targets. The last time we intervened in Iran in a major way was 1953, when the CIA overthrew the Iranian regime to protect Iranian oil for the West. Many historians would argue that led to the Ayatollah. This is a false fairy tale told and retold by Democrats, desperate to simplify every story into one which their own country plays the villain. Mossadegh was a wannabe autocrat who demanded full dictatorial powers and engineered dueling political and economic crises to achieve that goal, eventually pushing everyday Iranians to take down his government. The United States played a role in his downfall, but Warner's summary is a butchered version of the truth, one that he and his fellow Democrats have long clung to in order to justify their incomprehensibly friendly posture towards the evil Iranian regime. And we've seen that throughout history, whether it was Biden, Obama. America's internal boo birds were similarly out in force after the daring capture of Maduro, the communist thug who has spent the past decade running Venezuela into the ground. Despite Maduro's status as an indicted criminal who imprisons, tortures, and murders his enemies, the American left nevertheless took his side over Trump. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani accused Trump of unilaterally attacking a sovereign nation, while Senator Andy Kim wailed that the operation sent a horrible and disturbing signal to the rest of the world. These two are distortions. Maduro is the one who robbed his countrymen of their sovereignty by rigging elections and persecuting his opponents. And the signal that Trump sent that the United States can and will take action against anti-American strongmen should serve as comfort to the downtrodden and warning to their tormentors. What's so horrible and disturbing about that? The Democratic Party is still compelled by its crippling, coercive, blame America first impulses that Gene Kirkpatrick first called out 40 years ago. So much so that they alter history and cover for the worst people on the planet to satisfy it. Everyone with eyes to see and ears to hear knows the truth, even bumbling fools like Ken Martin. It's a part of the blame America first crowd. We're going to talk a little bit about Minnesota. Hey, by the way, I know we have some... Oh, what was it? Okay, I'm going to read some of those comments when we return. No harm, no foul on the pronunciation of certain things. I've got to read that. I know I mentioned this in the 6 o'clock hour, but I wanted to mention for those that, because of their schedule in the morning, can only check the 7 o'clock hour. This is Ghost. Ghost was recently adopted at the Southern Tier Animal Control Group, a non-kill shelter. A family adopted Ghost on Saturday. By Sunday, he bolted out of the door when he saw a deer. The sad thing is he had been in a shelter 699 days, over half of his life. And now they cannot find him. His last sighting was at Corning High School and 2nd, 3rd, 4th Avenue and Higman Hill Road here in Corning. If you have seen him, please contact me so we can get you in touch. Or if you happen to nab him and got him somewhere safely, please let me know. Just joining that family. The family obviously wants him returned. You see that number on the bottom of the screen. You can reach out to me at any time. All right, we got a lot of comments coming in. Stay with us. We will be right back.
Young's Tires at 909 Chemung Street in Horseheads is the area's most trusted automotive repair facility. Check engine light on? Visit Young's Tires for a complete diagnostic check. Trust Young's Tires for complete repair, including tires, suspension, brakes, and more. For over 50 years, Young's Tires in Horseheads has been your trusted automotive repair shop. Whether you're an off-roader looking for a suspension upgrade or you want to get your star player to the game, trust the team at Young's Tires.
Nearly 5 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds in Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
It's the home of Tivity. Release your inner audio engineer. Create with the 3D printer. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to your local library today.
Sophia A., grade 4, absent, because transportation was absent.
Julio M., grade 6, absent, because Wi-Fi was absent.
Maria J., grade 12, absent, because childcare for siblings was absent.
Jacob O., grade 12, absent, because housing was absent.
Aisha S.,
Olivia H.
Darren L.
Cole W. Preston L.
Absent.
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 Because healthcare, anti-bullying,
mental health support was absent.
We're calling roll on the 15 million absent students.
Their reasons why are very real.
And yet the solution is a present, caring adult to help them along their path.
When communities and schools is present, 99% of our students are present and ready to learn.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer. Okay, I'm getting tired of people mispronouncing the name Renee as Renee. I don't know how to say that. Pronounce the following words: Glee, Flea, Maggie, etc. If this was how the troublemaker pronounced her name, then either her parents did not pay attention while learning English language, or Renee was a foreigner. Is that how it's been said? I haven't heard that. So, my mistake. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. I was reading that in 2022, Hochul proposed a constitutional amendment to enact term limits for statewide officials, including the governor. We all know that New York will always be a blue state due to New York City and parts of our larger cities. She should be encouraged to seek that amendment with the help of Joe and Phil. She might even have an admirable legacy if she were to pull that off. A government without term limits only encourages corruption. Thank you very much. I would agree. I'd love to see term limits. Comment from a different viewer. U.S. Representative Nick Langworthy announced on Monday that he's decided not to consider leasing the office space inside Elmira City Hall. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. I meant to mention this at the beginning of the program. I see other comments coming in. Yes, he did decide. Here's a statement that they sent me. Sorry, I meant to start the program really with it. This is what Congressman Langworthy sent. I appreciate the city of Elmira and its leadership for their consideration and for working with us to explore the possibility of housing a district office in Elmira City Hall. After careful review, the available space does not meet the full operational needs of a congressional district office, and we are pursuing other potential properties going forward. So thank you for reminding me to bring that up. I do appreciate it. Stacey Garrity is a likely Republican Party candidate for governor. There's no doubt that she's targeting less than 11 months away from election day. What's in that in reference to? I'm not familiar. Am I? I don't know. Pennsylvania's governor. Yeah, okay, interesting. Oh, that's interesting because we had Josh Shapiro announce the other day. Now I get it. Sorry, I wasn't on the same page. Okay, I guess, where do we want to go here? Let's talk a little bit about New York. We can get back to Minnesota if you'd like. But you know what's scary? Let's talk about it for a second. This is scary. The left is kind of seeking martyrs to fuel this anti-Trump uprising, according to Fox. Now, this reminds me of not that long ago when people, and it was when kind of ICE first started, they said to their people on the left were calling their congressperson and saying, you have to get in there. You have to go to the detention facility. You have to get handcuffed. You have to get punched. There's got to be blood so we can get attention to this. Kind of the early days of the idea of being a martyr. And some did. In this case, as the Trump administration ramps up enforcement against illegal immigration and cracks down on welfare fraud, the radical left is escalating its tactics in a calculated bid to create martyrs. How terrifying is this? We've seen this before, but today's ideological fervor, backed by deep-pocketed donors and foreign influencers, makes it far more dangerous. From blocking ICE operations to shielding massive fraud schemes in states like Minnesota, Illinois, California, and New York, the left isn't just resisting, they're spoiling for a fight with the intent of sparking widespread unrest. And there's a piece at the New York Post saying that soccer moms are taking up this new hobby of becoming ICE saboteurs. But I'll continue with what Chuck DeVore had to say. The signs are everywhere. In recent days, we've witnessed governors and mayors openly defying federal authority, stoking violent rhetoric in the wake of the shooting death of Good in Minneapolis, after she allegedly attempted to run down a federal law enforcement agent. This incitement by elected officials inevitably increases the threat of violence against ICE agents. This is a calculated strategy. As the New York Post reported, Good was a so-called ICE Watch activist, whom a friend called a warrior, meaning Good was at the federal law enforcement operation to disrupt it, and with luck, get filmed while doing so. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. They want to get filmed. They hope that it gets media coverage, but also they love that filming so they can share it on their Facebook. And in many instances, this happens even locally. Get the most likes, show that they're doing the most. But Trump and federal law enforcement shouldn't back down. They should outsmart the professional agitators with agile tactics. Elected officials on the left are whipping up hysteria, not just to fundraise and fend off primary challenges from the even more extreme flanks, but to provoke confrontation that could produce martyrs. Martyrs, as history shows, are powerful accelerants for political violence, as the death of George Floyd in 2020 in Minneapolis showed. They rally the base and demonize opponents, with the two main strategic objectives being to pressure administration to retreat while costing Republicans in the 2026 midterm and the 2028 presidential contest. Take the ongoing battle over welfare fraud. In Minnesota, the Feeding Our Future scandal exposed a staggering $250 million in stolen federal funds meant for child nutrition under the pandemic. Somali immigrants, some with ties to questionable nonprofits, funneled money overseas, including, it appears, to potential terrorist groups. Yet, when federal investigators dig deeper, left-wing activists and politicians cry foul, framing it as racial persecution. This is not isolated. They go through, and you can find this at Fox News, they go elsewhere as well. The left wants these inquiries halted, not because they're baseless, but because exposing the raw undermines their narrative of open borders and endless entitlements. But why the drive for martyrs? It stems from a deep understanding of revolutionary psychology. Today's agitators aren't the opportunistic looters of past riots. They're ideologically driven, often professional organizers funded by left-wing billionaires and overseas sources, including China. Beijing has a vested interest in sowing chaos here, weakening America from within while advancing its global ambitions. These groups know additional high-profile deaths and clashes with ICE should spark nationwide outrage, amplified by a sympathetic media. Backing down would hand the left a victory, emboldening further defiance and eroding the rule of law. Instead, smart enforcement will drain the swamp of fraud, secure our borders, and deny radicals their prized martyrs. America has faced down worse threats. Resolve wins the day. Trump must press forward decisively but wisely for the sake of the American people. Okay, how are we doing on time? Yeah, as I mentioned, tying in with that, soccer moms are taking up the dangerous hobby of becoming ICE saboteurs. Does not seem like a smart idea. Now, many are finding their purpose and identity through aggressive activism, becoming anti-ICE social media influencers, undergoing training as legal observers, and creating physical chaos to obstruct federal law enforcement. It's as naive as it is dangerous. Since Good's death last week, there are videos of women punching ICE vehicles in Minneapolis, aggressively confronting agents. Some are acting out for the cameras, obviously hoping for social media cred, or perhaps communion with other social justice types in their neighborhood. One mother who brought her baby to a protest told a reporter she wanted her to feel the energy. Yes, she wanted the baby to feel the energy. Across the country, training on how to disrupt ICE operations are being staged in houses of worship and community centers. Last month, it was reported that over 1,300 attendees showed up to a Brooklyn church to become newly minted agitators. The piece described them as armed with whistles, know your rights card, and their training. These New Yorkers are now better prepared to respond to any ICE action. And that ties in with Good. She was a part of that group ICE Watch, where the manual detailed how to fight arrests and launch a micro-intifada. That was the group that Good was a part of, the Minnesota ICE Watch Group. Detailed manual providing instructions on fighting police officers to free arrested radicals from their grasp, comparing each de-arrest to a micro-intifada. The de-arrest primer manual was reposted on Instagram in June, part of a loose collective of agitators who took members or teach members how to disrupt law enforcement officers performing their duties, including ICE agents. Neighbors have told the New York Post that Good had regularly attended meetings with the local chapter and received thorough training from the group. The manual outlines 4 tactics for interfering with arresting officers, such as the best kind of grip to use while yanking someone in custody out of their hands, or even suggesting on pushing and pulling an officer off of an arrestee. Technically speaking, for pushing off form, you should have a low center of gravity and a wide base, and push up explosive power with your head up at all times if possible. For breaking a grip, try striking the grip. Wow, I'm not going to go through any more of this. But you see what is happening on the ground. Now, Alyssa Farah Griffin on The View says, I feel like we're losing our collective humanity because of ICE. Well, I feel like we're losing our collective humanity because what I keep going back to is, I've talked about it on the show, members of my family have had interactions over the years with law enforcement. I've had people I love who served time in jail have turned their lives around. And I keep thinking, thank goodness, when they were in those situations, they dealt with law enforcement who looked to de-escalate, who looked to take the tone down and the temperature down and deal with the law enforcement aspect of whatever was happening. And in this instance, my outstanding question is, if the claim is that she was defying law enforcement, were charges going to be filed against her, and for what? If she'd not been shot 3 times, and then her vehicle rammed into something as she crashed. So he looked up what are the punishments for evading law enforcement or even fleeing police in a motor vehicle. These are serious crimes, but I want to be abundantly clear. The response is not death. So I would just ask people, remember, this is a human being. We may learn more facts, but this is a human who is no longer here today because of a situation that didn't need to escalate, did in the most extreme use of force, was used rather than de-escalating. All right. Elon Omar, I know I'm running late. Elon Omar said that the ICE officer committed a clear murder, even an execution. You see this officer clearly go in front of the car as she reverses. You see his hands on the car. You see his feet and very far away from the wheels of the car. So there was no possibility that he might have been afraid of getting hit by the car. And so it is a clear PR. It's a defense of a clear murder that was seen on TV by the administration, and it's shameful. And it should not be acceptable and unconscionable. And I stand by everything that I've said. I am very comfortable with the word murder. There's no conscious way in which you watch that video that the administration itself has produced, and you do not see this person, this officer, Jonathan Ross, clearly murdering this woman. Not only does he shoot her in the face, but you see 2 more shots being fired on the side of the driver's window. There's no way to explain this outside of it being clearly thought out murder and execution of this woman. We've got a few other things on that. We're going to talk about New York State updates. Stay with us. We will be right back after this.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
It's great to catch up, Jamie. How's business?
Good. Are you up to speed with the new beneficial ownership reporting requirements?
Sort of. What's it about?
It's a new initiative to help fight crimes like money laundering, fraud, and drug trafficking. A lot of small businesses like ours just have to report some basic info to the federal government about the real people behind them.
Does that include my cafe?
There are some exemptions for certain companies, but don't worry. There's lots of guidance on the government's website about who needs to file. Check out fincen.gov/BOI. Filing is easy and free. It took me less than 20 minutes.
Looks like I do have to file. Thanks, Jamie. It's great having a supportive business community.
Reporting beneficial ownership information helps protect U.S. national security. Filing is quick, secure, and free. And it's the law. Learn more at fincen.gov/BOI.
There are a lot of temptations facing young people today, like electronic cigarettes and skateboarding. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes. This can lead today's youth to a lifelong addiction and severe lung damage. Recall and consider the facts before making a poor decision.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments, shall we? That would be a perfect way because we're running a little late for this segment. Good morning, Frank. Oh, this is from Rick. Rick says, I see Trump is after Powell again. Bondi couldn't dream up something this stupid on her own. Trump will get his Fed puppet in there soon enough. Then we can watch the markets go down, prices on everything go up more than they already are, and inflation spike. Bull in a china closet. Why can't the DOJ do something useful? Same for Trump. Trump is mad because Powell won't do what he wants. Trump is the biggest criminal in the country. Watch out for a market crash by the end of the year. Taking bets on military action on Iran or diplomacy. I say stay out of their business. As long as they don't have a nuke, leave them be. So just out of curiosity, this is a question I would ask. So even with the murder of the protesters, we see numbers up into the 500s, arrests by 10,000 for protesting the regime. We should turn a blind eye to that because they don't have a nuke. Just let their people suffer. I think that's an argument that I've seen people on the left make, that it's none of our business. I think it's, when it comes to humanitarian, it's kind of interesting, especially for someone, no offense, Rick, that has brought up Netanyahu and your beliefs there in Gaza. I find it interesting that you have no problem with the people of Iran suffering, and we should not get involved. Okay, as far as that goes, stay out of Greenland. It doesn't belong to you, Trump. Just like the White House, not your house. Oh, interesting. You're getting conspiratorial, huh? Are you saying that Trump didn't win the White House? Huh. Enough is enough. Tell you what, if China or Russia try to take Greenland, then they have to fight the entirety of NATO. If NATO can't stop it, then it's theirs. Stop with the you don't want Russia or China as neighbors. You want what's in the ground for you. Question, why is Trump picking on Minnesota when Florida, Texas, and Utah twice to 3 times the undocumented population is Minnesota? I see Trump's job approval rating is now at 36%. He was at 34% after his January 6th antics. And leaving office, he is a winner. Well, by definition, he was twice. And popular vote and the electoral. Unless we go back to your comment and he didn't win the White House. Okay, comment from a different viewer. I love this one. Good morning, all. I think President Trump's original idea of taking over Greenland and renaming it Marjorie Taylor Greenland is not going to happen now. Have a great day. Yeah, I think that ship has sailed. I think that's very much Marjorie Taylor Greene's decision. She was the one that went that direction. So I like that joke, though. Comment from a different viewer. The car actually hit him, meaning the police officer, the ICE officer. You can see him limping just before he protected himself. Thank you very much. And finally, Ken writes in, I constantly hear people saying that they don't understand why the Dems act the way they do, why they traffic in misinformation and outright lies. I think the answer is super simple. They want to be in power, to set policy and write laws, which equates to gaining wealth that they couldn't get in the private sector. As far as the tactics they use, they are well laid out in a book that isn't talked about anymore, Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. It is still the Dems' playbook on how to gain and retain power over the masses. Trump has been the spoiler of their plans. I have always said that Trump is a world-class narcissist. He wants his name out there everywhere, and he refuses to fail. That is why the Democrats hate him so much. He has been standing in their way since the day he came down the escalator. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate that. Hakeem Jeffries calls for Kristi Noem's ouster after the DHS response to Renee Good's shooting. She should be run out of town, said Hakeem Jeffries. What is clear is that Kristi Noem is completely and totally unqualified. She should have never been confirmed by Senate Republicans. It's disgraceful that she's there. She should be run out of town as soon as possible. All right. Now we're going to get into New York State issues in just a moment. Let me bring this up one more time before we wrap up. I mean, we only got about a half an hour left, and I don't want to start into a new topic until we get to the next segment. But again, if you have seen Ghost, just adopted by a family after 699 days, over half of his life in a shelter. They brought him home Saturday. He sees a deer on Sunday and chases the deer. He has not been seen since. He has been seen, but has not been captured, if you will, since. He's been seen around Corning High School, but most recently around 2nd, 3rd, 4th Avenue and Higman Hill Road. So if you have any information, if you're able to lasso him, or if you've just seen him in and around your neighborhood, this is more for our friends in Corning. Please contact the number as you always would, 607-358-3131. You can text and I can get you in contact with people, or if you're not a texter, please leave a voicemail, because we're trying to do the most for this family who wants their brand new member of the family back after just a few short days. Okay, let's take a short break. Let me get to the back camera here. We will be right back. What break are we on? My goodness. We'll be right back after this.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
New York State nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lecom Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
I didn't know where my life was going. With Wounded Warrior Project's help, I was able to get my life back in order. I thank Wounded Warrior Project not only for helping me, but also helping veterans that I know that are dealing with the same struggles that I am. Wounded Warrior Project understood what I was going through. I'm grateful that Wounded Warrior Project helped me reestablish my life. I am living proof.
At some point in your life, you or a loved one will need disability services, and Easter Seals will be there. Because at Easter Seals, our national network of caregivers and experts make a lasting difference in the lives of people with disabilities by providing care and support at every stage of life in thousands of communities across America, like yours. We're helping your neighbors, kids, grandparents, and friends with disabilities lead full, independent lives.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Comment from a viewer. Hakeem Jeffries should be run out of town. He is under investigation for missing money. Thank you very much. I would have made Rush Limbaugh proud. Thank you. I appreciate that. I doubt it, but I do appreciate the nice sentiment. We had such a nice chat about Rush yesterday. Thank you. Before we talk about Hochul's agenda, which looks to be kind of released by the New York Post, just to show you what we're dealing with, especially with the raise the age law and bail reform and all these things in New York State. One of the teenagers, charged in a deadly stabbing of a 17-year-old boy on a Queens street was out on supervised release in a separate gang assault case at the same time of the fatal daytime ambush. Derek Trejo, 18, was cut loose by Judge Jennifer Turbide just 2 months before he and 17-year-old accomplice allegedly got into a fatal dust-up with victim Jose Arguedo, a complete stranger. Trejo has been busted as part of a crew of 7 brutal perps accused of beating a 34-year-old stranger, pummeling him and hurling a traffic cone at him before knifing him in the back. Wow. He was busted on November 12th. He didn't stay behind bars for long. Turbide granted him supervised release despite the Queens District Attorney's Office suggesting he be held on $40,000 cash bail or $80,000 bond. Less than 2 months after he was released without monetary bail, cashless bail, Trejo and his buddy allegedly got into an argument with Arguedo that ended with the 17-year-old accomplice plunging a knife into the victim's torso. Trejo was back behind bars Monday as he now faces a second-degree murder charge in the broad daylight ambush. Arguedo's neighbor, anyway, we don't have to go through all that. Just an example, we talked yesterday, we didn't get a chance to mention it, but just the headline, that there needs to be a push to change and alter the raise the age bill. Comment from a different viewer. With Rick's market prediction, he should short the market by buying ticker SDS, which is contrary to the S&P 500. If the market goes down, you're rich. Let's see how that works out. Might be able to buy a few muscle cars. That's nice. All right. What are we looking at for Governor Hochul's State of the State? Will you be watching? That is today at 1. Her agenda for 2026 will include new policies barring ICE at, quote, sensitive locations, allowing upstate cities to test autonomous vehicles, a new downstate semiconductor chip design center, and another tuition freeze for CUNY and SUNY schools. In her 5th State of the State address, the upstate Democrat will try to strike a different balance between supporting Mayor Mamdani's Democratic Socialist vision while not isolating moderate and independent voters who she needs to secure re-election this November. And I also think there's some concerns there for her that it's not so much about Blakeman necessarily and losing the general election. It's the fact that the Democrat Socialists of America and the far left could end up rallying around her lieutenant governor who is primarying, or joining the race themselves and having kind of a shock upset like Mamdani was as mayor. Now, I do think that upset is way overhyped. The fact that the Democrats are kind of hitching their wagon to the tactics of Mamdani, I think, is a losing battle. Come midterm, not my business. They don't have to listen to me. I don't want them to. But in my opinion, this idea that this is the future of the Democrat Party, Mamdani had the perfect storm to win this thing. Cuomo, in typical Cuomo fashion, was too cocky, was too assured that he was going to win that election. No problem, the primary. So he didn't even really campaign. He did very little. He thought he had it, and then, of course, he lost. Now, once that happens, he has that stain of being a loser. Just the nature of it. So Mamdani could cruise right in, kind of a Bill de Blasio type scenario where there wasn't much scrutiny. So anyway, I know I got on a tangent there, but if they think that's the winning issue, because listen, if Hochul wants to go for these far left strategies, look what California is doing. California has lost $1 trillion, yes, with a T, $1 trillion in wealth in the past month alone because of this fear of a billionaire's tax. Let me say that again. California loses mind-boggling $1 trillion in wealth in just the past month alone. The under fire measure, the billionaire's tax, where even left-wing Governor Gavin Newsom opposes, would slap a one-time 5% tax on residents worth more than $1 billion as of January 1st, 2026. Collectively, the amount of billionaire wealth that has left California in the last month is now in the excess of $700 billion, said venture capitalist Jamantha, some name. That means that $2 trillion of California wealth they expected to tax is now down to $1.3 trillion and falling very quickly. I would not be surprised if 2026 ended with less than $1 trillion of billionaire wealth in California and decades and hundreds of lawsuits. A complete and total unforced error. Where was the governor? Where were our leaders? But when you talk about taxing the rich, this would be something supported by Mamdani, and then therefore does Governor Hochul say, yeah, I don't want to lose that support. The mere fear of the possibility of the measure, which would go to the polls in November of this year, making it potential start date retroactive, has reportedly left a slew of Californians, roughly 215 billionaires, to scoop up homes in states such as Florida and Tennessee and relocate at least some of their companies' offices out of state. For example, while California has previously been the promised land for tech titans, more than 45 LLCs in the state tied to Google co-founder Larry Page have recently filed to go inactive or relocate out of state, as a trust linked to him snapped up a $71.9 million mansion, Miami's Coconut Grove. I don't have to go through all the specifics, but when they talk about the rich and they say, oh, the rich aren't going to leave, they need us. $1 trillion in wealth in the past month alone lost in California. But we continue with Governor Hochul. According to the draft notes of her presentation, she will also push a let them build agenda to make common sense reforms to local development processes, implementing 25-foot protest-free buffer zones around houses of worship and abortion clinics, expand child care for New York City 2-year-olds, crack down on bogus car insurance claims, pay to keep cops on overnight subway trains, and set up 4 new quantum computing hubs across the state. Some of her main topics: affordability, online and artificial intelligence, industries of the future, public safety. Remember, she's looking at the general election in November. Transportation. What else do we have? Oh, here's something you'll find fun. The New York Focus website, if this is something that interests you, it doesn't move them around, so there's not really any sense playing the game. But they put together the 2026 State of the State Bingo. So will these words be mentioned by Governor Hochul? Here's the words that they chose. Mom, Governor. Yep. Go Bills. Yep. All of the above. But I don't think that means every single one they have here. I think all of the above approach kind of thing. Abundance. Build, build, build. Opioids. Curse word. Oh, will she curse? Standing ovation. No phones in schools. Fighting crime. AI. ICE. Donald Trump. New York City subway. Micron. I-81. Kodak. Congestion pricing. Nuclear energy. Inflation rebate check. Back to basics. New York Liberty. Guns. Universal child care. So that's NewYorkFocus.com and their State of the State Bingo. We'll see how they do. Maybe I'll save it. I'm probably not going to watch the whole thing. We'll talk a little bit more about this, getting ready to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. So stay with us. We will be right back after this quick commercial break.
Well, it's strained.
It is?
It's a repetitive motion injury. Do you do this a lot?
Well, I do give out a lot of checks. Now, what about this pain in my back?
Tender, huh? Do you play any contact sports?
Thank you.
Wow! That explains it. Stick to friendly nods for the next couple of weeks.
Looking for a pre-owned vehicle you can trust? Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships has over 2,000 quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Cars, trucks, SUVs, every make, every model, every budget. All inspected, reconditioned, and backed by a team that puts your peace of mind first. After the sale, using the latest technology, our certified technicians deliver dependable, honest service you can trust. Over 2,000 pre-owned vehicles, 18 locations. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. We're taking deals the other guys won't.
Dear coach. Dear coach.
Dear coach, they don't teach you that inner strength is the most important kind of strong. But you taught me that.
They don't teach you how to build confidence in yourself or how to deal with all the pressures all at once. But you taught me that.
First tee was more than golf. It's where I discovered what I'm capable of.
You didn't just prepare me for 18 holes. You were preparing me for every day of my life. Learn more at firsttee.com.
Frankly Speaking, Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple comments from viewers. Residents, scientists, health professionals, and local business owners. Oh, we're in Schuyler County. I saw that kind of protesting, calling on lawmakers to take back what they described as the country's or the county's interest in hosting a nuclear power facility at the former Camp Monterey site, which seemed like a good use of that land, but I knew there were protests, and I saw that was making the rounds. How did it go, I wonder? Coming from a different viewer, New York will also lose trillions. Wall Street has already begun to relocate to Florida and Texas. Absolutely, because what do they call it? Y'all Street in Texas, Y'all Street. Hochul, this is interesting. According to Politico early this morning, Hochul's campaign is starting State of the State Day on the offensive. by attacking her likely Republican foe, Bruce Blakeman, over her signature issue, child care. The Democrat governor launched a broadside against the Nassau County executive over his child care record while leading the populous suburban New York County. Hochul's campaign points to reports that daycare centers are struggling without county subsidies and may be driven out of business. The attack comes as President Trump's administration has yanked funding to blue states, et cetera, et cetera. Now, so this is what Governor Hochul is delivering: universal child care and lowering costs for New York families. Bruce Blakeman's record tells a very different story, driving child care providers in Nassau into a death spiral, leaving parents and providers in the lurch and rolling over to Donald Trump's war on New York families. Blakeman's spokesperson said anytime there has been an issue regarding child care services or any youth services, Bruce Blakeman has addressed those issues and solved those problems. Unlike Governor Hochul, who has been governor for 4 years and has done nothing to improve child care in the state. Some tough words from Blakeman. Now, I know the left is pushing for Governor Hochul to be more aggressive with a pushback on ICE. Specifically wanting them banned, if you will, from sensitive locations like house of worship, schools, and hospitals. That'll be something that comes up today. Also, because it is an election year, New York State is going to loosen environmental rules to speed up home building, to make it faster and cheaper to build housing in the state. The latest government effort to tackle high housing costs as affordability becomes a centerpiece of this election year. Hochul on Tuesday plans to propose new reforms to exempt the majority of housing projects from the State Environmental Quality Review Act, according to a policy book reviewed by the Wall Street Journal. Anyway, all right. So they're saying, well, I got to take a short break. Keep those last-minute comments, keep those last-minute waves coming in as we get ready to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. We will be right back.
This isn't your father's library. Create with the 3D printer. Release your inner audio engineer or sewing machine rentals, all with your library card. Go to getyourlibrarycard.com today.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Dear Winter, we're coming. Our squad of vehicles, with all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, is ready to take you on. Safety's the name of our game. Bundle up. Toyota.
Right now, you can lease Tacoma for just $259 a month or get 2.99% APR for a full 72 months on a new Tundra. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
Whether our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Steve writes in. Good morning, Steve. People may not be aware of the new stricter New York State motor vehicle laws that they put into place. They might want to learn about them. Key changes effective early of this year. 1 to 10 miles over, 3 points. Was 3, now 4 points, reported by some sources. 11 to 20 miles per hour over, 4 points. 21 to 30, 6 points, all going up 1, except for 31 to 40 miles per hour over is 8 points, was 6. And over 40 miles per hour, 11 points, was 8. Whoa. Cell phone use now 6 points, up from 4 to 5. Failure to yield to pedestrians now 5 points, up from 3. Reckless driving now 8 points, up from 5. New point carrying violations, failure to move over for emergency vehicles, 3 points. Illegal U-turns and obstructing traffic, 2 points. Equipment violation like a broken light, 1 point. Wow. Strict DWI impaired driving penalties. Increased points for alcohol, drug-related offenses. Example, first offense, 8 points. Second, 11. Third, 14. Lowered threshold for a lifetime license revocation to 4 or more DUI convictions, which was 5. Seeing as though people are already leaving the state in droves, they have to come up with new ways of creating revenue in motor vehicles, and this is one of the fastest ways to do so. All right. Hochul is facing pressure from the left and the right in an important election year, according to Newsday. Yeah, I mean, you got to remember that Mamdani has not endorsed her yet, so could there be a Democrat Socialist America that comes out of the woodwork? Lawrence Levy said it's not pure hyperbole to say that there never has been more at stake now for New York State politically and policy-wise than any other modern-day midterm election cycle. Thus, every line of every budget proposal and bill will be directed toward gaining ground in November, and that in turn will drive a focus on affordability, particularly on housing, energy, and food, public perception of crime, and the appeal of party brand. Now, according to John Zogby, strategist, Hochul has a comfortable lead, but could lose some support from independents and upstate. Hochul has a double-digit lead over Blakeman, 53-39. Additionally, when factored in independent candidate Larry Sharp, I saw that he announced, unbelievable. Hochul's lead falls to 49, with Blakeman receiving 34. Sharp pulling 8%, leaving 10% of voters undecided. Larry Sharp has been pretty much run for governor how many times now? 3, maybe 4. Bruce Blakeman kicks off his second term, touting his record and taking a dig at Hochul. Blakeman, after taking the stage, said that when he first took office 4 years ago, the whole state was in turmoil under Hochul's leadership. The county executive told the crowd that he's since worked to make Nassau County an anomaly despite the direction of state leadership. Blakeman said his record in the state would be the model for the state if he unseats Hochul, running on a platform to overhaul the state's public safety, immigration enforcement, energy, and tax system to make New York safer and more affordable. By the way, Zohran Mamdani and First Lady Rama Dewji officially moved into Gracie Mansion, and they want to add bidets to the New York City mayoral residence. Okay, there you go. Only the best for avowed socialists. Only the highest lap of luxury for those running as Democrat socialists. Ken writes in, State of the State bingo. I think the Democrats will rig the game. I prefer multiple choice. A, will Hochul say anything worth listening to? B, will Hochul say anything beneficial to upstate? C, will Hochul be taking more taxpayer money? D, all of the above. I think we can all safely say D, all of the above. All right, we are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. I want to thank everybody who joined us. We had a couple of things that we missed, but we'll be back on tomorrow's broadcast. As I said, Thursday, we will hear from Kelly Fitzpatrick, just recently reelected to chair of the Steuben County Legislature. And then on Friday, we're going to be talking with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. Also, don't forget, I know I've been bringing it up all morning long, but if you happen to see Ghost, get a hold of me here, and we will make sure that we get to you the information you need to know to return Ghost to his newly adopted family. He's last seen around Corning High School on 2nd, 3rd, 4th Ave and Higman Hill Road. So if you see him, come on, contact us as soon as you possibly can. Have a great day, and we will be back tomorrow morning bright and early with Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, we'll see you tomorrow. I look forward to it already.
Every day in January is New Year's Day at Cutler's. Stop in and receive phenomenal savings as our rock bottom prices will be available for the whole month. We have pallets of 6, 12, and 20 mil LVT in stock, starting at $1.99 per square foot. Up to 50% off on all in-stock carpet and LVT. Take 10% off our already low prices for all special orders. Bring in your measurements or we can measure for you. Hurry in for the best selection, as these are the lowest prices of the year. Cutler's Carpet and Flooring, we have a buddy in the flooring business.